Hi, everyone. My name is David Davis. I am a quality assurance analyst here at ASU. What does that mean? Basically, I test websites and mobile apps before they go out to all the students and faculty and staff so that I make sure that, they work right and they make people happy. And I also moonlight as a UX designer, so I design stuff too. I've been here for 6.5 years, and accessibility testing is one of the most important aspects of what I do because, we want to make sure that ASU is inclusive in all of its products and everything works for all people. So basically, what I'm going to be going through with you folks today is I'm going to be covering some few cool tips and tricks of things you can do when testing websites so that they comply with accessibility standards and make them usable for all people or as many people as possible. So I will be demonstrating various things. It's going to be pretty hands-on, and I'm also going to be happy to answer any questions you folks have. So any questions you have, please feel free to post it in the chat. And after I go through demonstrations, I'll be happy to answer anything you have. So yeah, let me get started. So the first accessibility testing method I will show to you guys is actually, let me share my screen with you before I go further. So let's see, share screen. All right, share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So the first accessibility testing method I am going to share with you folks is called Site Improve. Now, for those who have not heard of Site Improve, so Site Improve is an extremely helpful add-on tool, particularly for Google Chrome, which identifies all the prevalent issues on the website that you are currently viewing. So let me actually demonstrate for you, and I will explain further. In fact, let me first provide you the link to the extension. So here you have it. So here's the link where you can find it. I posted it in the chat. That being said, once you have that add-on on your Google Chrome, you're going to click on it. And it is loading. So what you see here on the side panel, if everyone can see it, is Site Improve. So it is an accessibility checker. And what it does is it analyzes a website to make sure what kind of accessibility guidelines it complies with. So in a nutshell, there are currently 3 levels of accessibility conformance guidelines, which I'm demonstrating on the screen for you right now. So there is A, AA, and AAA. So for federally funded institutions, in our case, ASU, so this applies to us, at the very minimum, we are required to meet A and AA conformance at the very minimum. And for each of those conformance levels, there are certain standards, accessibility standards that need to be met, which are pretty in-depth, which you can further read on the WCAG's website. But basically, it is basically meant to meet certain standards so that it can be accessible to as many people as possible. And AAA is like, it's not mandatory for us. However, if you can make a AAA, then good for you. That's taking the extra step, an extra mile, which is basically adding even more further accessibility. So what does Site Improve do in order to communicate this information? Once you run the tool on a website, for example, I'm looking at Herberger Institute's website right now, and I just ran the tool. It shows you if it finds any issues on the current web page you are viewing, it is going to display it in the site, and it's going to label it A, AA, AAA, and it's basically going to specify what the issue is and how can you go about fixing it. So for example, in this case, let's look at one of the issues listed here, which is contrast minimum, which is a AA issue. If I click on it, it expands it and it tells me that color contrast is insufficient. So what does that mean exactly? I'm going to click on that right now. And what did it do? It took me down all the way to the page and it actually annotated it with this purple border here. and it's telling me that the color contrast is insufficient for this contribute button that we are looking at right here. So why is it insufficient? It's because it explains here that the color ratio does not meet the criteria for it to be sufficiently contrasted for people of different visual abilities to be able to see it properly. In this case, it's telling us the contrast requirement is a 4.5, and it only has a 3.3 out of 4.5. So as a result, it doesn't quite make the cut. How helpful this is for developers is it allows them to see this detail in better, and it shows them what kind of text color they're using and what kind of background color. And it can allow them to take further steps in order to try to address the issue. And this is really with anything. So like we look at other things, and it provides help about text, for example, heading, missing text and what's missing. So bottom line is this is basically a really helpful tool to show you what standards you need to comply with, and specifically what items on the page you actually need to address in order to take care of those items. And you know what, while we're at color, actually, I will move on to the next item, which is color contrast. Now, this was covered by my colleague Victoria in her presentation, but I'm just going to briefly go over it as well. So for color contrast, you need to, let's say, for example, for normal text, which is between 14 to 18 points, the contrast should be a 4.5 to a 1 in order to meet standards. And for a large text, it should be a 3 to a 1. Now, these are all numbers. I know that I'm throwing numbers at you. So let me demonstrate further what I actually mean by that. So let me show you a very useful tool, which is the contrast checker. And in fact, let me provide that link to you guys in the chat right now, in case you want to take a look at it. So here's a link to contrast checker, as well as another useful Chrome add-on tool, which is ColorZilla, which I'm providing you guys a link to as well. So what does this mean exactly? What is contrast checker? So contrast checker actually shows you the contrast ratio of your colors. So for instance, a foreground color and a background color. So let's say the text is the foreground, which you see here on this website that I'm showing. And the background is white. So the contrast ratio of this blue color against this white is an 8.59 to 1, which is way above, which far exceeds the standards. And the standards, as I was referring to earlier, is a 4.5 to a 1 ratio. So this 8.59 to a 1 far exceeds it. And I mean, as we can see here visually looking at it, I mean, it's pretty easy to read. There's definitely no doubt about it. So how can we use this from a practical perspective? So if you wanted to actually go out and look, figure out the color contrast ratio, unless you have one of Tony Stark's interesting glasses, which can analyze stuff and tell you things right away, you would actually need to take manual step in order to find that. Now, Sight Improve is one of them. It actually tells you the color contrast. But suppose, let's say you want to be proactive, and before you even thought about adding a color to a website or deciding what color you want to figure out right from the get-go, what do you want to do? So what you can do is, if you were to use ColorZilla, which I am clicking on right now. Now, as you can see, I'm clicking on ColorZilla, so pick a color from the page. Now I'm hovering over this maroon button, which had contrast issues. So when I click on it, it copies to my clipboard the actual number of that, the hex number of that color. So what I'm going to do here is, if I go here to the foreground color, paste, now it shows that maroon color. In addition, now let me get the background color of this, which is this dark gray, copied to the clipboard. Now I'm going to paste this as the background color in this contrast checker tool. Voila! Automatically, it calculates the contrast ratio to you of that maroon button, which is this maroon color, and this dark gray color. So 3.4 to 1 contrast ratio. And what happens? It tells you fail, fail. It shows that it's pretty much failing across the board. Now it shows pass here for large text, because large text has a smaller ratio requirement. So for large text, the actual minimum ratio is a 3:1, which in this case, it exceeds it. But for a small text, it fails it because it does not meet the 4.5:1 standard. Well, hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping this is a helpful example. I know it's a bit technical with numbers. I'm not a big fan of numbers myself, but this is pretty much a proactive way to determine your color contrast. So that being said, let me move on to a third accessibility testing method, which is keyboard tabbing. And I will actually demonstrate this on ASU's class search website. So what is keyboard tabbing exactly? So keyboard tabbing is a process in which people navigate websites not by using their mouse or touchpad, but by purely using their keyboard. So people who might not, for instance, be able to use a mouse, either because of motor disabilities or whatnot, or they're dependent on a screen reader, which we will cover next as well. They need to keyboard tab in order to interact with objects on the website. So for instance, and in this case, we're using the tab button only. So when you're testing a website, you need to make sure that everything that can be interacted with, everything that can be clicked, anything that can be whatever, anything that needs to be interacted with can be tab highlighted and can with the keyboard and is purely keyboard interactable, so that if a person does not have a mouse, that they can use it regardless. So let me demonstrate on this class search website. So I'll start from the address bar, press the tab. Now, as you see, it shows the skip to main page content, which is actually a hidden link, and I will get to that shortly afterwards in my next item. But as you see, as I'm keyboard tab highlighting, it shows the actual active frame around whatever's being highlighted. So I'm going around, I'm tabbing through, it's going through every single thing. Now also, the reverse has to work as well. So right now I'm just pressing the tab button, but if I hold shift key and press tab, I should be able to go backwards so that the person, whoever's navigating, if they skipped something, for example, if they decide to go back, they can go back. So whenever you test for tab highlighting, you have to do it both ways, both forward and backwards. Now, aside from just the highlighting part, let's see how the tabbing can go through different types of interactivity elements. So as I'm tabbing through, notice I just hit the radio buttons here, which I'm circling with my mouse. Now, when a person hits a radio button, the typical standard is people should be able to select radio buttons by pressing the up and down arrows on their keys, their up and down arrow keys. So as you can see, I'm pressing up and down right now. That is the moment that they hit the radio selection items with the tab key. So this is the standard that is typically followed. Now, when I go to the next item, it's a drop down. So what should I be able to do? Once I tab highlight this field, I should once again be able to press the down button, up and down button, and as you can see, the menu popped up, and I should be able to select anything in the menu. So let me make a selection. There you have it, fall 2019. If I change my mind, I can press the up and down again, change my selection anytime. So that's another example of interactivity. So next is a text field. Once I go in, the cursor is there, and I can type in anything I want. There you go, GIT. I typed that in, selected that with my arrow, no issues. Buttons also, as you can see, I went to the search button. I'm able to highlight that, press the return button. There you go. I got results. Once again, I'm not using a mouse at all. I'm purely using a keyboard. Expansion links. So this is a link. When I click on it, it's supposed to expand the menu, advanced search. So once I highlight it, press return. There you go, expansion. And as you can see, I mean, pretty much when I go through any of these, same thing, same deal. Yes, checkboxes also. So for the standard for checkboxes is whenever I tab highlight onto them, I should be able to press the space bar. And when I press the space bar, that's when it actually checks the item. That's the standard for checkboxes. So yeah, that's as far as tab navigation goes, I mean, this is once again a basic coverage. I mean, you're going to face a diversity of different web elements and such that you're going to need to keyboard tab highlight through. And once again, WCAG and various other sources and websites out there will guide you and help you out to provide you a standard of how keyboard interactivity should work with web objects. But once again, for purposes of testing, this is tremendously important, and I cannot stress enough. I mean, really, I mean, pretty much if you cannot tab navigate, it's pretty much unusable for anybody without a mouse. So we don't want that. Next up, screen reader. And for that, I am going to bring up degree search, and I will turn on JAWS. Now, JAWS is the name, besides being a really well-known movie. Some of you might have heard of it. I know I certainly have. It's the name of one of the most popular screen readers out there. A screen reader is basically it's basically a tool that vocally dictates and annotates everything on the screen for you. So for instance, somebody who might be visually disabled, let's say, or have visual difficulties and is unable to read something that's on the screen, a screen reader will assist them in interpreting whatever they are currently viewing on their screen. So any text, any pictures, any interactive elements, it should be able to read it out loud to them. And of course, as web developers, it is very important that you design your website so it is compliant with screen readers and basically friendly, so that a screen reader can help those in need by dictating whatever's on the screen. So with that being said, let me briefly demonstrate how it works by turning on the screen reader.
JAWS Professional, undergraduate majors vertical bar ASU degree search dash Internet Explorer, undergraduate majors vertical bar ASU degree search, undergraduate majors address and search using Google Edit, HTTPS toolbar security report button, undergraduate toolbar home button, skip to main page content same page link.
So as you can see, well, it's talking a bit fast, of course, and you can certainly adjust the speed levels in terms of how fast it talks. But so let me demonstrate in conjunction with tab navigation how the screen reader works. Now you may have recalled that this skip to main page content link appeared in the previous page that I showed you guys. The purpose of this skip to main page content, usually it's hidden until a person navigates to it from the when they start from the address bar. The reason is because now, for ASU web standards, we have these headers and footers, for example. So we have the global header and the global footer on the bottom. Now, a person who's navigating this website, obviously these things appear on every single page. A person who's navigating the website does not really want to have to hear the screen reader read all of this.
Skip to main page content, same page link.
See what I mean? They don't want to have to hear the screen reader read all the content here, basically going through this over and over again on every single page, because obviously it's redundant and unnecessary. So as a result,
address and search using
what we do is we give them an option,
skip to main page content same page link,
so that when they click the skip page link, it
skip to
automatically
main page content
takes them
same
to the
page
middle.
link. Page has 8.
It automatically takes them to the middle, so that they can see the meat of the web page, the meat of the content, and just get right to the point. So that being said, let me show you some examples of how the screen reader works.
Address and search using Google Edit. 8 page control undergrad toolbar me 3 link play the game link. Academic report and ASU link graphic.
As you can see, it said ASU link graphic. Now, obviously, this web object is just a graphic and it's not actual text. Now, why do I mention this? Because as web developers, it's important for you to provide ARIA text codes, which is basically HTML code in the back end, so that whenever a person highlights a text, when a person highlights an image, and for instance, even if it's just a regular image, or especially if the image has text, their screen reader will read to them exactly what is it that they highlighted. So for example, this is the ASU logo and it says Arizona State University. Now, if it doesn't have an area code in the back end, it's just going to say image, or it's maybe not even going to say anything at all. And people are going to be wondering, okay, what did I just highlight? But since this has Arizona State University logo written in the back end in the ARIA code, when I highlight it, it tells me that. And so this applies to any image, any object, whether it's a button, an image, whatever. it needs to have that area code, that identifier text in the background so that when screen readers can read off of it.
Sign in link on mouse over. ASU home link. News/events link. Academics link. Research link. Alum give president about ASU link. My ASU link.
Now, here's another interesting thing I'm going to mention, and I'm going to call out the white elephant in the room. You might have heard the screen reader say, my ASU link. So here's a piece of advice. If you are putting an acronym on the website, and make sure that in the backend code, in the HTML for the ARIA text, if it's an acronym, space them out. So in other words, for example, if it's ASU, instead of putting ASU as one whole word in the backend in your code, put A space S space U. That way, the screen reader will say ASU instead of ASU, because people might get the wrong idea. So that being said, let me go further into the website.
Search by keyword head. Online, search to Me3 link graphic.
As you can see, it said Me3 link graphic.
Play the game link.
Play the game link.
Career assessment link graphic.
Once again, I mean, these are icons, merely representing what they are. But at the end of the day, you want people, for instance, who cannot see what's on the screen or who have difficulty seeing, you want them to see, you want them to hear what is on the screen, so that, they're really fully immersed in the website, and really, especially from a functional perspective, they know what they're clicking on and what they're interacting with.
Careers, compare degrees, same page link graphic. Compare, find, take the campus, sign in link.
Once again, when it goes to a link, it says, like, for example, sign in link. It specifies the fact that it is a link, so that people know what it is, what kind of object it is, what kind of from a functional perspective.
A -C list view link, architecture and construction link graphic.
Yep. So when we go through these different majors, it specifies what each picture is about.
Arts link graphic.
In the perfect world, it's generally advised not to put text and pictures in one, just because to make it more accessibility friendly. But once again, if you are putting a picture with text on it, and obviously that text, it's not highlightable or readable from a screen reader, once again, make sure that in the code, in the backend, you put what the actual name, the descriptor of the text, the descriptor of what image it is and what text, if any, that it has on it. And that's as far as screen readers go, really. I mean, it's based on what I showed you. And, feel free, once again, if you have any questions, please post them, and I'm happy to answer it. So that being said, let me turn off the screen
context
reader.
menu. Run from leaving menus. Arts link graph.
So let me turn off the screen reader. And so for the next item up for bids, okay. Next item up for bids, I have a picture that I would like to share with you. Can everybody see that? Oh boy, I just realized when I was going through the screen reader, I did not share that other screen, did I? All right. All right, so I'm guessing everybody can see this picture. So captioning. Yes, captioning is very, very important. Why? Because when people are watching your videos, for instance, let's say somebody is hearing impaired and they can't hear what's on the actual video, even though they can see it. You want to be able to provide them captions so that they can be part of the video, so they can be part of the experience. Now, why do I post this picture? So this picture, what do you see here? And for those who are unable to see what's on the screen, it's basically a screen clip of Black Panther, and it says, "I have made fences, fish needed friends." Now, what does that sentence mean exactly? I have no idea either. So why do I emphasize this? Why do I show this picture? When you caption, not only is it important to actually include a caption, but before you actually post the video and provide it to users, you want to actually go through and, instead of relying on automatic captioning, which in this case, this video, I'm guessing probably did rely on it, you want to make sure and actually write the captions in yourself so that it captures all the intended words that may or may not be captured by automatic captioning. So you want to make sure you go through a video you go through every line, and yes, it is definitely going to be it's going to be a major process depending on how long your video is, but you want to make sure the timing is right, the caption displays at the appropriate time when the actual words are said, and the words exactly as they are said are provided in the captions. Now, in addition to the words themselves, you also want to provide captions for any sound effects that are playing. So for example, if there's music playing in the background, you want to actually say, in parentheses, for instance, you want to write in the caption, music playing. Or let's say it's a video of somebody on the beach. You want to say, sound of waves crashing on the beach, or waves on the sand, or if it's raining, water droplets. But basically, you want to make sure that the people who are watching are as fully immersed as possible, and they have the opportunity to fully take in as much information as possible from the video. So yeah, you want to make sure to caption the videos. And really, I mean, these are some of the essential tips that these tips that I provided you. These are some of the most essential items that you should keep in mind. There are definitely way more expansive, more things that you can cover in accessibility, and many resources to read about how much further you can enhance things. But really, at the very basic, these are some of the most essential items that you would want to cover, especially in the case of ASU, and in terms of students and faculty and everyone interacting with all these important, whether it's websites or videos or applications or, class application. Things like these really cover the essentials and are definitely helpful, and hopefully make things accessible for everyone so that they have the same access, as equal as possible. So with that being said, I mean, I'm really, at this point, I'm open to questions. If anybody has questions for me, if anybody wants to ask anything, I'm really happy to answer.
I did have one question. This
Sure.
is Deborah. In this presentation, were you using the JAWS screen reader?
Yes, actually,
Okay.
I apologize for that. Let me, you know what? Now that you said that, let me actually, I apologize, everyone. You see, I jumped between browsers and or Windows, and like what happened was that I forgot to actually press my share screen button. So that being said, let me stop sharing my current screen and let me share this new screen. Here we go. Now, can everyone see this page, this undergraduate degrees page?
Yes.
Yeah, my apologies about that. I was actually, when I was doing the screen reader navigation, I was actually using this page, and everybody's probably staring at the other screen, wondering, what the heck is this guy doing? Is he nuts? And yes, I am nuts. And second of all, while we're at it, let me actually show you this screen. So to answer your question, Deborah, yes, I was using JAWS. So if I press it again,
JAWS Professional, undergraduate majors vertical bar address and search using Google Edit, toolbar, undergrad, tool, sign it, adapt, architecture and construction link graphic, undergrad, ASU home link, sign in link, ASU, report and accept, ASU, report, skip to main page, content
so
same
there you
page
go.
link.
These are the types of things I was talking about, like skip to main page, which unfortunately you guys didn't see, but now you do. Like skip to main page content, when I click on it,
Skip to main page, content same page link.
How it takes me to the middle of the page. But yes, I was using JAWS, and when I use JAWS, as I go through each field, it specifies each field, and it
search by keyword, edit, filter by location, drop down menu button, online programs checkbox not checked, search degrees button to activate Me3 link graphic, play the game link, career assessment link graphic, career assessment link.
So as you can see, this is what I was actually talking about you guys earlier, vocally that is, and visually I'm showing it to you right now. So
a dash C list, architecture and construction link graphic.
So here's the classes that I was referring to, like the images with the text on them.
Arts link graphic, business link graphic.
And they actually get highlighted green, and that's actually JAWS doing the highlighting. It depends, like now everybody will have different settings on their JAWS screen reader. So in this case, it actually shows a bit of a green translucent color whenever I highlight objects. But of course, people set it in different ways.
Communication and media link graphic, computing and mathematics link graphic.
So yeah, that's JAWS for you visually.
Is this a plugin, and do you have to have the full JAWS in order to use this?
That is a good question. So JAWS, it is not a plugin. It is actually a separate software that you need to get and be licensed for. Now, to my knowledge, I know ASU has specific licensing for people who are affiliates. I think students, faculty, staff, I think they get it for free. They should be licensed for it. But yeah, it is an actual separate software.
Jump list for Firefox. JAWS context menu. Run from train menu. Utility submenu. 2. Leaving menus. About JAWS dialog. JAWS. Job access with speech. Professional edition. Version 201.
Okay, it's talking. But anyways, but yes, JAWS, it is a separate software, and yeah, it should hopefully be. I'm pretty sure it is available to everyone for free. Everybody who's affiliated with ASU for free, and like whenever you reach out to technology folks, they should be able to provide you a way to get it. But yeah, it's not a browser add-on. It's a separate software you actually need to install. And actually, while we're at it, what I'm doing is right now I'm looking at Windows 10 in Parallels Desktop. So it's only actually available for Windows. However, for Mac users, there is another equivalent of it. Mac comes with its own screen reader, as well as there are also other third-party screen reader softwares out there, which I forgot the names of all of them. If anybody knows, please feel free to post it in the chat, or just say it out loud if you like. But there are definitely several of them out there for both Mac and Windows, and yeah, they are all separate installs. And oh, what's that?
I'm a screen reader user. There's an open source program called NVDA.
Sure.
There is the built-in screen reader that comes with Windows called Narrator. And then of course the built-in screen reader that comes with Apple products called VoiceOver.
Yes, correct. Yes, that's the one, VoiceOver. That's the one I was thinking of. And yeah, really, I mean, as to what screen reader anyone uses, it's really up to you folks. I mean, there is no one right or wrong answer. I mean, I know in my case, I use JAWS for testing because I know a huge percentage of users out there use it. It's very popular. It was one of the original ones that came out, but there's definitely quite a few out there. And really, I mean, they should, for the most part, they all work equally as each other for the most part. I mean, I'm sure they all have their own different, maybe shortcuts or different features here and there, but I mean, as long as you use a screen reader, either one, it really should be helpful either way, and identify any issues that might need to be addressed, like anything that you might feel might not be screen reader friendly enough. Deborah, was that somewhat helpful?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
So does anyone else have any questions they want to ask? Any comments that?
This was really helpful, David. I enjoyed seeing the different ways to test everything. I've played around with some things, but it was helpful to be able to see you go through the different tools. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. I mean, really, I leave it up to you folks. Like, I'll give you back some of your time then, if there are no further questions. And once again, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to post it in the message, or really follow up with me, David Davis at asu.edu. I mean, really, I'm happy to provide any tips you need. But these are really the core basic things that web developers and designers really need to consider whenever they work on websites.
Somebody asked which tool is the least technical. Thanks, Lisa.
Which tool is the least technical? Least technical, like in what sense? Let me see. I think it was Matthew. You asked that question. Like,
yeah, thanks, David. I'm helping out with a class that's going to be teaching teachers and designers how to create accessible type websites. And so we want to give them a tool that's not really HTML heavy or really technical to kind of get them started on this idea of accessibility. So I was just wondering if you could recommend one.
So in other words, like are they like graphic user interface related web building tools?
Like along the lines of like Danny, or the one that you just showed, the Chrome extension.
The Chrome extension. Okay, so let me.
I'm sorry, it's called Andy. Yeah, Andy.
Andy. So what was the Andy?
Oh, it's really similar to the Chrome extension that you first showed, that first tool that kind of gives you the overall, and it does like an audit or an
Gotcha. Oh, sure. And so in other words, you are looking for like a less technical tool than this one. Is that what you guys are?
Exactly. Yeah. If you happen to have any recommendations, that would be great.
That's,
I use Totally, a Chrome extension.
Oh, there you go, Lisa. Yeah, I actually heard of that. Totally.
Very simple to
Oh,
use.
great. Thank you.
But it just tells you it'll tell you what's wrong, and it'll show you the code, but it like, you know, if you're developing it and you're doing the HTML, you would need to know how to do that. But
it's this one.
And also, if this is within ASU, I posted the link to there's a web accessibility .asu.edu, and that has a lot of information, and it's the UTO web accessibility site. And there's also workshops that are always available that Kathy Marks and folks you can just schedule time and they'll help you do things too. So that's a very good resource for anybody starting in this.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Totally is it's a browser extension in Chrome, and it's TOTALL, or not LL 11Y.
So I posted the link in the chat, and also it's on. Oh wait, I'm not sharing. I need to change.
There you go. Yeah, I see that. Thanks, Dave.
I forgot to share screen. I changed my windows again. So here you go. Can everybody see this? Totally plugin from Khan Academy. It's actually like these two L's. They're actually ones.
They're ones. Yeah.
Yeah, but but yeah, this is the one that Lisa recommended, which is actually pretty good. I've actually used this one in the past as well. I do not currently use it anymore, but yeah, it's pretty user friendly. It's like a click interactive plugin in which you're able to click different things and it'll tell you.
It'll try to emulate what a screen reader would read, but it does it with text, not with reading it out loud. And it's not perfect, but I don't think any of them are, to be honest.
Life is not perfect.
So yeah, but it's not perfect. So you have to look at what it tells you and then look at it and evaluate it yourself.
So what you see here, like for example, in this example screenshot, it'll show you something like that in the corner. It'll show you headings, contrast, link text, and
yeah.
Was that helpful, Matthew? Like, was that a helpful recommendation somewhat?
Yes, thank you very much. You guys have given me some great options. Appreciate it.
Cool. All right. Does anybody else have any questions on any tools or anything that they would like to ask, or any comments? Or I know you guys probably took in a lot of information, so no worries. I'm sure it can be a bit to digest, but once you get it, it'll become second nature, and I think it'll help you guys in the long term, just because, especially in the sense of being proactive, because that way you will not have to go in and backtrack web development work that you could have easily just done during the development. So I think these tools can be helpful, can prove helpful to your process.
I have a question.
Sure.
Debbie.
Who's that?
I'm Debbie. Hi.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
So good. How are you? Thank you for a good presentation. So I'm helping with the website development for the center, and so I usually just go to the Drupal and select it, like if I want to do a button, and my thing is that I have the same button that you just did for the Herberger. So what does that mean now? Am I not in compliance? I mean, what? I mean, I'm just using exactly what's on there, you know? So can you help with that?
That is a very good question, and I'm sure people I'm pretty sure you folks who use the WebSpark tool probably got alarmed by that. Now, WebSpark is designed for the most part to be accessibility compliant. I guess this is one of those unfortunate cases in which it is not completely compliant. So yes, I mean, you are correct for using the tool, and it's good that you're using the tool and continue using it. But in terms of WebSpark, of course, there will need to be improvements in the web standards need to be made in terms of these tools, because there are certain things like, for example, this, what you're looking at on the screen here, this contribute button against that dark gray background. Yes, there is definitely, it doesn't fully meet the contrast requirements. So that is something in the long term that we will need to address in WebSpark. So yes, to answer your question, yes, it is not completely compliant, but that being said, as of right now, it's still all right that you're using, WebSpark. However, another option you can try to choose if it's possible. I'm not exactly sure, but if you want changing the button to a gold color, let's say, because I mean, I've seen that in other areas, and I know that different colors for different buttons communicate different things, but depending on the amount of flexibility, let's say a web developer in your department would be allowed to exercise, then you can perhaps change the color to using a different ASU Web Standards compliant color, which would probably be more contrasting with this dark gray background. Is that somewhat, I hope is that somewhat helpful?
Yes, thank you.
David, it looked to me like it was applying the rule for small text to a button, though, saying that the red and the red and the black or the dark gray don't have enough contrast, but that was the rule for smaller text.
You mean this, right? Well,
when it was flagging that as failing it based on a small text rule.
Actually, well, so what it does is, and once again, the tool can be finicky. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what it's telling me right now, but
So UI components have to meet those contrast ratio standards too, but yeah, I wonder if.
Yeah, you see,
yeah, I see.
I would say that the text is also probably not it's not the optimal contrast against the maroon background. So in other words, it's saying the text is not optimal. So the background color being the maroon color of this button, and this light gray text being the text on top of this button.
So it was failing the contribute on the red.
Right.
Okay.
Also, I mean, if I were to use, like, let's say if I were just to use what my eyes tell me when I look at this, I mean, I would say the maroon is still definitely not the optimal contrast to the dark gray background, even though I guess it's not outright calling it out. So, I mean, that in and of itself, I mean, sometimes you have to use a bit of, I guess kind of think outside the box sometimes, just from a perspective. And it's easier said than done sometimes, because it's a matter of perspective. What's easier for some people to see is harder for others. But I mean, what's that?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Excuse me. This has just, I know, not been the best experience. I'm getting called to another, I guess, session that they want. I need to go right away. I am so sorry.
No worries.
Should I try to get someone else to get on for you?
No. We actually need to wrap up and head over to the main session. I just put that Zoom link in the chat. I think I captured everything from those question and answers on a different document, and I believe all the materials from today will be available later. So if you want to join us over in the last session, that would be amazing. And Rochelle, go on. You can go do what you need to do. And David, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
We'll see you all over at the other session. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.